Welcome back to another video. It's me, Arvin. So we all have different interests and goals that keeps us going in life. So the main question is, practice makes perfect, but does practicing really help? Oh my god, I just inserted the Vsauce music. So the main disclaimer is that this is my personal opinion and I would love to hear your thoughts on this matter as well. So don't forget to leave in the comments below. Yeah. So the thing about practicing is that usually you would spend time practicing a certain thing and you could practice like 100 times. The thing I noticed is that there's something called blind practicing. So what is blind practicing? So let's say you're trying to learn how to draw, and let's say you're trying to draw a cube and you drew like 100 cubes, but then you realize that the cubes never really looked any better. You just kept drawing it, you just kept drawing and see how it looks. You're just thinking that, hey, if I drew 100 cubes, it will get better, right? But truth to be told is that you could draw a cube 100 times, but your cube could still be wrong. Why? You may not understand the fundamentals and what exactly goes into making a cube look correct. You may not know about perspective, you may not know about how does a volume change with perspective. Is there something called vanishing points? Is there something called perspective lines? These are things that you may not necessarily know if you're just starting out, which is totally fine. Like, it's okay to not know. No one is born knowing everything. So there was a practice back in art school where before every drawing session, our lecturers would ask us to take out our sketchbooks and start drawing circles. And they never really explained like why. So some of our classmates would actually not do it because they find it pointless and they are wasting pages in their sketchbook. And some of us would just do it. Like I used to just draw it without knowing why. And despite drawing the circles, I felt like it never really did help with my drawings. So the next important point is actually purpose. What is the purpose of doing this? What is the purpose of drawing the circles before class? After a certain period of time, I realized that the whole practice of drawing circles before starting is to get the flow of drawing, to make sure that we do not get too stiff with our drawings. We need to be more flowy and be more expressive with how we capture whatever that we see onto paper. And this was never really properly emphasized to us. So when we were told to draw circles, we were like, huh? Why do we need to draw circles? I don't understand. And then it felt like we were just doing it for the sake of it. So back to the whole point of blind practicing, how do you actually avoid blind practicing is to actually understand the purpose behind your practice. So now you understand what blind practices are. How do you actually avoid blind practicing? Because truth to be told, I'm sure most of us do not actually have a mentor figure. It's very easy to feel lost during this period of time. It's like, where do I actually start? I understand that the internet is a big place and I can get resources everywhere, but where exactly do I start? How do I actually start? So the next main point is to actually do your research. And it's easier said than done. I understand do your research, what do you mean? So when we're talking about research, it's more of understanding how do people actually get to where they are, and then to actually see what are their processes and how do they actually do it. People that are actually part of the industry, how do they actually do it? You have a reference point to how it's supposed to be. So there's so many free online resources such as YouTube and even prompt ChatGPT to generate you a 6-month roadmap on how do you actually learn cooking, how do you actually learn the fundamentals of drawing and stuff. I think that's something that many of us don't realize and we are not using. And there's also another thing that you could do, but it's a little bit more daunting, especially for people such as myself, which is to actually find and reach out to someone to seek mentorship from. So what I did previously was I approached people on LinkedIn regarding my career, just general strangers. I threw out a general message with specific points of what I wanted to know about, what are the specific skill sets I'm lacking and what do I need to learn, and what are the possible hurdles that I might encounter, as well as what I'm actually missing in my portfolio in order to get to that position. So out of, let's say, 10 people that I reached out to, maybe 3 to 4 replied, and that is pretty good, to be honest. The fact that you don't have to be afraid to reach out to people, because the only downside to it is that you don't get a response, and that's fine. It's there's literally no difference from you not reaching out, which is you don't get a response, so it's the same as ground zero, right? So you have literally nothing to lose. And if they reply you with excellent information and good tips that you do not necessarily get from scouring the internet, I think that is a win on its own. Go around and find someone that you can actually ask for tips and even ask to be a mentor. I think people these days, they are more than happy to help. I reached out to this guy and he wrote an entire essay of things that I needed to know. And till this day, I'm still really grateful for the information that he provided. I felt that it was really informative and it was something that I could never have gotten from the internet by searching let's say Google or ChatGPT alone. So once you have done your ample research, the next thing is to condense your research into a tangible roadmap. The main thing you need to ask yourself is that how much time do you have in order to reach a certain milestone? What are your milestones? Do you need to reach it in 3 months, 6 months, a year? And after that, what exactly is tangible for you. If you're really starting from ground zero, I would not encourage you to do it within 3 months. Maybe give it like six months to a year. The fact is that you have a tangible timeline with steps and milestones that you can hold yourself accountable for and actually see progress. Like after 6 months, you can definitely see a huge improvement if your research and the practices that you've implemented is useful to your journey. And the thing about roadmaps is that you should include things such as like weekly tasks and monthly tasks, and like think of it as a game where you have milestones and you have quests to complete, and then once you hit these check boxes, you are closer to completing your game. And the end of this game is that you will be more knowledgeable and more experienced in the field that you want to be in. So back in university when I was studying art, we did reach out to one of our lecturers to ask how do we actually continue learning and constantly improving on our art skills even past graduation. The one thing that they said was, you already know what to do, why are you asking me this question? And then to me it's more of like, that makes so much sense. What he meant by that was that the whole point of school is that they implemented structured assignments and projects and weekly practices for us to do. And it was something that we could definitely implement on our own. We know that, hey, you need to do weekly practices, you need to have assignments, you need to have things to hold yourself accountable for to see that you're actually making progress. And it was something that made so much sense. I was like, that's true, we actually kind of know what we need to do. We just need to do it. Because when it comes to school, all they're doing is that they have someone to hold you accountable for. And let's say in the context that we're all out of school and that we are trying to learn something on our own, we don't actually have someone to hold us accountable for and actually prepare a program, a structure for us to follow. We need to come up with our own tangible roadmap and our own schedule, our own practices, our own milestones to follow so that we can reach to a point where we want to be. So one last point about avoiding blind practices is that you can implement it in such a way whereby, let's say for the first week, let's say you're learning drawing. Let's say the first week you need to practice drawing a cube. Then the second week you draw a cube in different angles. And then subsequently, once you're good at drawing cubes at different angles, and like you could start to learn shading and stuff. And then subsequently you could also learn about the fundamentals of the human anatomy. Like all of these will start to come into place once you've done your research. And to take things step by step, I think that's the most important thing. Like don't overwhelm yourself and always start from the fundamentals. Like it's easy to get carried away with like, hey, I want to cook a great 5-course meal, 7-course meal. Like it's so easy to overwhelm ourselves. Of course we want to get there someday, but the main thing is that you gotta start small. Like take small steps to reach there. Time is precious, and time is the only thing that money can't buy. You want to be accountable and you want to make sure that the amount of time that you're spending is worthwhile. And I do know that everyone has our own different goals, our own different passions and interests that we want to pursue. So I sincerely hope that you get to achieve your goals just as how I'm trying to achieve mine as well. So if you like my content so far, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. And last but not least, all the best to you and see you guys next time. Bye!